All righty. So Ernie has introduced himself, so I'd like to make a motion to add Ernie to the Board of Directors. So I'm going to start with Isai. Do you have any questions for Ernie before we move forward?
Nope,
Okay.
I think we're good.
Missy, do you have any questions? All right, so if anyone would like to second the motion to add Ernie, please say so.
I'll second it.
Both of you, great. With that, everybody approves, say aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
righty. Welcome, Ernie. We're going to be
Oh,
working
thank
you
you.
hard. All righty. So unfortunately, Jim's not here, so I'm not sure what's going on with him. I'll reach out to him later. We had in the previous session in November talked about, like I said, Missy and Isai being a port, the reasons why they were part of it. Hopefully you got to see the video of it. We also talked about the future, the hotel, the bookstore, the museum, the whole kit and caboodle. So in this particular thing, does anyone have any questions about what we previously talked about in the last meeting?
I
No?
haven't watched the video. So I was aware of the bookstore and the museum. Did you say also a hotel?
Right. So one of the goals for both the museum and for the Author School of Business is to ultimately purchase a hotel here in the Austin area and remodel it and design it for authors, so that authors have a place to come and learn the craft, but also where we can hold our annual event, but then also have the museum included in there and the bookstore. You can see what the hotel is if you go to the authorschoolofbusiness.com website, click on AME 23 and scroll down to the hotel. That is the hotel that I'm interested in. This is a long-term goal, but it's one of the goals that are established for ASB and ultimately TAIH. ASB will be the one to purchase it and then lease out space for free to the museum for its space and stuff. But there's no other place in the country that has something like this. So it would be a first. And for those of you who've been with me a long time, you know I like to be first in something. So it's one of those long-term goals. The main focus for us right now is the Lone Star Festival to make sure that that's done and it's done properly. So let's, if there's no other questions, I'll go ahead and jump into that. Okay, so the Lone Star Festival is scheduled for May 13th through the 15th in Seguin. As you know, it was canceled last year for a variety of reasons, mostly because of lack of funding. Unfortunately, we are not able to sell as many space booths this year, which means we have even less money to put it on, which means we have to work on sponsorships. Hopefully, I'll be hearing from HEB in some respect, but I'm not expecting much from them. Last year was only $100. At some of our other events, they've gone as high as $1,000, but that's in kind stuff. We need hard, cold cash. As you may be aware, I lost all the tents in the storage units that we had down there. That was close to 100 tents that we lost. So to replace those is going to be expensive. We're looking at easily $10,000. To rent them, the quote I've been given out of the San Antonio place is $30,000 for the weekend. And they're looking at seeing how they can do it cheaper because there's no way we can afford that. It'd be easier for us to buy them as we need them type thing. Missy and I have talked about making sure that we reach out to as many of the vendors that are coming to see if they have their own tent. That will help cut costs this year, but we'll have to adjust to them a credit of something for them bringing in their own tents and stuff. We have a quote for a DJ for the weekend of $600. That will allow for the amps and speakers and stuff for the other bands to plug into for the weekend. They're on the garden or in the square to play. We're having to hold off on the film festival because there's just not enough time to put that together for this year. So it'll have to go into 2024. We still have the speakers for the writers conference on Saturday. That's still set. Everybody's still participating on that level. And then we'll have a booth for authors to do the readings over the weekend as well to promote themselves and stuff like that. So the bottom line for us is to find out a way to raise between $10,000 and $15,000. I sent to everybody in the email earlier the sponsorship layouts. So I realize most of you don't know anyone who has big bucks, but we'll take as many small bucks as we can get because it all adds up. But in that sponsorship list, it shows you exactly what they get for their money, and what we
Is
give
it
them
in the
back.
form of a formal proposal?
Formal in what way? I mean,
Can
it's
you put together, well, I'm asking, well, I guess what I'm looking at or thinking is, I do know somebody who has a lot of money. Uh, and I don't want to get anybody's hopes up, but I could approach her, or approach her through a friend. She's a friend of a friend. But she would need some sort of formal proposal of what has the festival been in the past, who's it, who are we bringing in, how's it helping the community, the state, and everything. I mean, it needs to be more of a formal, laid out proposal, exactly, and then some of the things you're talking about. How much do we need, and what is it going to go for, and that kind of stuff. So, if somebody can write or put together a formal proposal, I can certainly approach her with it and see. This is well, is it a nonprofit that
Yes.
you would be? So as long as it's a nonprofit, they have a huge company. In fact, I think they own all the underground pipelines in the United States. Is her company,
Okay.
or her father established a company or whatever. But they need to give money to 501(c)(3s, and I can't imagine she wouldn't want to support literacy. So we can put together a formal proposal. I can get it to her. The only thing she can do is say no.
Okay.
Well, attached to that email was a form for sponsored programs that explained all of that, but there's no contract to get the sponsor to
Right.
sign an agreement. There's just an information packet.
Yeah. So the information packet is for you guys to have an idea of what we offer in exchange for what we get from them. But as far as what was just asked for, as far as a more detailed package, I'll work on that over the next couple of weeks.
All right, and I'll
get
look at what
something.
I didn't have a chance to look over what you sent real closely, but I'll look it over and see what it is.
Yeah. In the meantime, please feel free to reach out and see if this is of interest to them. And that would help me know if I need to move faster or not.
Yeah. Well, and again, she's a friend of a friend, so if I take it, I have to have the whole thing together and say, here, can you take this to her and help out with that. The other thing is every event that I always do, as a vendor, I always take my own tent. All of the vendors have to take their own tent in all the events I do. So I don't, I don't know that we should feel so bad or even reduce the price. I've paid, well, I'm doing an event that's a big event and I'm paying like, I think it was like $300 and I have to take my own tent. So,
And own table and our own chairs.
yes.
Yeah.
And all I'm guaranteed is a 10 by 10 space and the
That's
time
very
and
normal.
whatever. And then if I want to pay electricity, I got to pay more.
Yeah, it's
And
extra for
so
electricity.
those are add-ons. So I wouldn't feel bad about having the vendors bring their own tent
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
table and chairs.
Yeah.
I agree.
And you're all both right. The only reason I'm feeling sad about it, let's put it that way, is because that was part of this sale, was that we did include those items as part of the price. And now we can't. And yes, they'll understand to a point, but it's still, I feel bad because this is what we said, this is what we charge you, and now we're not able to provide
fair
that.
enough.
So
Now,
Fair
let me ask you this, Alan. Have you, this is what I suggest, because I don't think you have done this yet. I would suggest sending out an email to everyone who's already signed up stating the issue that, the tents have been lost. It would be very hard for us to get the funds together to replace them. Who already has their own tent? And don't say you have to bring your own tent. Just say who already has your own tent, table, chairs, or more importantly, who does not. Let's get a head count of who would need the resources before we try to raise all this money to replace all these resources. We may not even need all of that. And as for the tent or wherever for authors to do the readings, I mean, there's that gazebo. Why aren't we just putting them on right there in the center in that gazebo to do the readings and just having the chairs? At the most, we may have to rent chairs, but that would be a lot less expensive than having, I know about those tent rentals, those big white industrial tent rentals. I know how expensive those are. And honestly, I don't think that's a good use of funds.
No,
Personally.
I agree with you. And that's why when I saw that price, I choked and suggested something different for them. But in reference to the gazebo, that's where the music is going to be playing. So that's why that's not being used for the readers.
Now, is
So-
the music going to be playing the entire time? You don't want to have, increments of reading and then music and then reading and then music. I mean, is that what's scheduled?
It's not formalized yet, only because we're still working on the past performers to see who's coming this year, even though they didn't get a chance last year. So right now, it looks like we have about 6 performers for the 2 days. So if that's the case, then yes, we can do that intermission aspect, which would work better in the long run.
Right. Yeah, I think it would be better to break up the music with reading in between and vice versa, rather than because with events I have done in the past where they have, this reading and school type thing going on, and then they have the vendors, one always takes away from the other. But that gazebo is in a really good place to where you can have it going on at the same time, but not interfering with the audio of us talking to readers at our own booth. It's not so close that them doing a reading or even the music will interfere with that. So I think having them going on simultaneously in pretty much the same space is better than drawing people away to a whole different area for the reading or whatever. We want everyone to stay in that square.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And the only ones that are being pulled slightly from the square would be the classes on writing. And that's there at the church on that corner. So it's still
Okay.
part of the square, but that's the only place. The other type of readers would be in the square regardless of the gazebo or not.
Okay.
So that's what we did last time. And when we actually did do the event, we had the readers at the fountain and the music at the gazebo and stuff. But yeah, that's definitely something I need to finalize, is making sure who's going to perform, who's not, and move accordingly and stuff like that.
Okay, I have one more question. Early on, you said that we could not sell as many booths as you were hoping for. Why?
Because
Or just that we have not?
well, with the people that were purchased from last year are carried over, and that's about 70 booths.
Okay.
So
Do we still have room?
We do, about 20 to 30, and I'm
Okay.
trying to get artists to fill those up.
Okay, because I know a lot of Texas romance authors that have no idea this event is going on.
Okay.
And I can start telling people about it, but I didn't know what we had room for or how much the booth was or whatever, because I think the last time I checked the website, it wasn't working or something. There was an issue. So you give me the word and I will certainly drum up, see who's willing to come. Seguin is not that far from Houston. I know a lot of romance authors in Houston.
Right.
Well, I know a lot of authors, period. I mean, we can just put it out there on our media channels, social media channels. I'm sure we can pick up
Yes.
a lot of people.
Yes. All right. So the website is working, and it is $250 for the booth space.
Okay.
And on the website right now, I have it listed that only 4 spaces are available for authors. Because I really do need to get more artists in there, because it is authors, artists, and musicians. We are Texas creatives. We had 4 artists last year. That was nice, but it wasn't enough. And I don't want us to have so many authors that everybody's competing for the dollar more than they need to. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I want everybody to walk away saying, I sold something, preferably like you did last year. You did good on your sales compared to some others. And Kathleen did really well on her sales as always and stuff. So I want to see more of that versus everybody fighting for the dollar. Does that,
Well, I mean, honestly, even when I'm at an event that it's all romance authors, I don't really feel that I'm in a competition with all the other authors in the room, because my books are unique in that my story is not the same as what the next paranormal romance author is writing, even if we're both writing about vampires. It's two different stories. And the way that my readers are, because this is the way I am. I love paranormal romance. I'm going to buy from multiple authors of the same genre because that's what I read. So I don't really feel that we're in competition with each other, but I understand what you're saying about wanting it diversified because the event has been advertised as authors, musicians, and artists. So when you say artists, what about crafters?
Yes.
I have my entire family is artistic. I have artists and crafters in my family that I could see if they're interested in coming. I don't know about the 250. You know, I don't know who can afford what right now, so I'll have to find out. But I could possibly get you three more booths
Okay.
of creatives if that's what your goal is.
Yes. The type you just mentioned, we have somebody, and she sews her stuff together and stuff like that. And so she was from last year, so she's carried over for this year. She's excited about it. So yes, you know, home crafts, true artists, sculptors, whatever in that art aspect is definitely welcomed. Okay. I just put in the chat or in the meeting chat the website address. So if you click on your chat, you can see it, so that you have it. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, and if you have, because like for my own website and calendar and stuff, I've kind of just copied and pasted from the website. But if you have not a GIF but just like a write-up of the event, my cousin is one of the board members of a big cultural center here in San Antonio, that she knows like every artist in San Antonio. And I can get that information to her and ask her to forward it to them, but I need something professional looking. So if you already have something like that written up, if not, I'll try to write something up and then I'll send it to you for approval. But it would need to look professional looking.
Yeah. I'll try to work on it and get you something hopefully by the weekend.
Okay.
All right. The minimum we need to raise for this event is $3,000. That covers our licensing fees with the city, and that DJ to be there that weekend, and some extra like the police department the evenings to protect the stuff because it is available for 2 days and stuff like that. So that's the minimum. So ideally, 4,000 to 5,000 would be ideal to help cover expenses and to get us squared away and to make sure we have our dinner on Saturday night as well. So
is that with the sale of the booths or not?
That's more in the sponsorships, but yes, the booth fees, if we can get to that amount, that would be great.
Okay, because you said we have 70 already.
And
those
we
was
have
already
space
paid
for
last year.
Right. And we have space for 100.
Okay. So all those 70 have already paid, so they're not paying anymore because that's like $17,000, right?
Right. It's gone.
It's gone. So we have room for how many more you said?
30.
30. Okay. Okay. So at $250 a piece, that's $7,500.
Right.
All right. So the minimum you said is 3,000. What is the maximum that we need?
Ideally, five to six. 10,000 would be nice, but
I was gonna say there's no max, right? Let's just keep bringing the money in.
Exactly.
Well, again, if I'm going to write a proposal, I'm going to make it for the maximum and then some, right? I mean,
I would say 25. If you look at that email he sent with the sponsorships, there is a $25,000 level. That would be my goal for a big corporation.
Yeah.
Personally, that's what I would ask. That's what I would request.
Yes. No, that sounds perfect.
Yeah, and I'll put it in the description that you've asked for and stuff. So
okay. That sounds perfect.
Okay, so one of the issues that we've been having, as y'all know, is raising money for the museum, for keeping the lights on, basically. Okay, and I put out in one of the newsletters about the free ISBNs and the fact that Draft to Digital, Amazon, and Ingram own your books because of that free ISBN. So I got to thinking that there's no reason why we can't have a free ISBN program. And I've sent that notice to you, the agreement, which basically allows for the author to say, yeah, I'll take your free ISBN and exchange when I die, you get the manuscript, you get the books. Okay. This allows us for unlimited income for generations, which will keep the organization up and running. Okay. Right now we have 20 books already assigned to us. Okay. We're working with somebody to even have a movie assigned to us. Because she also has a book related to it. So it's a documentary from that book and stuff. So I'd love to hear your guys' opinions and thoughts on that.
How did that come about? That you got the 20 the same way, or?
Yeah, it's been something I've been talking about for years with authors and different meetings and emails and newsletters and stuff. So it's been slowly coming around. Automatically, Texas Authors has their short story contest for students. So those books are automatically included. It's only 2 of them, but the Dear Texas books have been added into it, and then I've added in my books. So with her book coming in, and then there was somebody else we were working on. So all told, right now we have about 20 books.
So what could we offer that Amazon and Ingram don't? I guess it would be my question.
It's not what we can offer that they don't. It's the reason to use our free ISBN. Either way, the author is going to get free ISBN. That's
right
for them. That saves them $100 roughly, unless they bought the package deals or stuff. But ultimately, it's the concept of helping keep a museum alive and keep their books alive.
Yeah.
Because when they die, the books die.
Yeah.
Okay. Ingram and Amazon, they can continue to sell them and they'll collect the money because most likely that author has not set a will to transfer it into somebody else's name. It's just going to continue in that account. So
right.
With us, at least, it's transferred to the organization and it keeps the organization alive. It keeps their books alive.
Yeah.
And that's how I'm approaching it.
Yeah. I think what most authors don't know, though, they don't understand how any of this works. And so I think just even if you could provide them with the information, and be upfront with them, I think would be a huge help for them.
Right.
I provide my own ISBNs and have since the beginning. The same problems that you have using a free ISBN from Amazon, would you have the same issues with Texas Authors? Now, all of my books I've sent to you for the Institute of History, but I didn't transfer any rights. And I guess by being on B4B, you probably have distribution rights or limited distribution rights to sell the book there. But as far as what happens to my works after I die, that's in my will.
And look, an ISBN is attached to a ebook, print copy, an ebook or print copy, correct? So if, like, for example, all of my books that are in both formats have 2 separate ISBNs, and when I die, my will is going to grant rights for all of my books to my family. So, the bad thing about this program is, for one thing, like he said, no one really, a lot of authors don't understand the ins and outs of ISBNs and rights. They don't understand the ins and outs of copyrights. And it's okay. It's all well and fine for them to say, okay, I'll give you the rights, but they would still need to outline that in their will, because if they give you the right for whatever book is under that ISBN, that does not prevent their ancestor from taking that material and changing a few words and reproducing it under a different ISBN and selling it. Plus, are we going to be marketing these books in 50 years for them after they die? I mean, there's really, I guess I don't see the point in putting a whole lot of manpower into this, because you may have 50 authors that say, okay, I have written this one book. I want a free ISBN. I'll give you my rights. You can have it, and you can make whatever money off of it that you can make when I die. And they're dead. They're not promoting on social media. They're not marketing their book. So unless this institute is putting the money in and the effort in to do that, the book's not going to sell anyway. It is a wasted effort.
Yes and no.
Here's what I can see, Alan. I don't mean to cut you off, but here's what I could see. Uh, you offer them a free ISBN if they become part of the marketing program, so that they can market their own book, and then you give them the option of buying that ISBN back. Now that takes care of a couple of things, right? So if they're going to buy an ISBN back, I'm sure you could probably figure out a way to sell them one, like buy one from Bowkers and give them that one or whatever. But I think a large percentage of people will probably not ever buy it back. Those who do want to buy it back, you'll still make money off of them because you'll sell them the ISBN and they'll be happy. But plus, again, you have them do something for that free ISBN. Either do 6 months in the program or do whatever. So there's still some incentive. You're still bringing in income, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
I would look at it and try and flesh that idea out more than just, hey, I'll give you a free ISBN if you give me your book when you die.
Okay. I understand what you're saying in that respect, and yes, that would actually probably work better in the long run. Back to Missy's aspect, so many authors just don't know what to do as far as the legal aspect of that, no matter how much we've taught them over the years. It is one of those catch things. Even the agreement that we have created does give us that right to ownership. There is a buyout. So if they choose not to do it, they pay us X number of dollars and they can own it. The long-term goal is really, if we get one of those authors that all of a sudden their 10th or 12th book, they're selling like hotcakes, and it continues to sell, like McMurray or one of those people, that's good income coming in for the museum that we're not really having to do anything for. We're not really having to market it or anything because it's part of the museum and people can order the copy, whether it's an ebook or a print or whatever, and have that set up as passive income, basically. It's just another way of trying to find more income coming in is what I'm looking at. The cost of that ISBN, if we buy 1,000, it costs us less than $10 each. If we buy 100, it costs us $30 each, or 10, it costs us $30 each, or whatever. It's a small investment on our part if we can see potential income in the long term.
I would tie it to them again. I would tie it to them because a lot of new authors, again, they don't know. So if you say, okay, I'll give you a free ISBN, just like Amazon or Ingram will give you a free ISBN, but I'm going to give you the option of buying your ISBN back. I just want to make sure, and this is what you're telling people, I want to make sure that you know how to market your book. So, if you're 6 months into this program and you're selling your books and you want to buy your ISBN back, that's what we're here for. We're here to educate you on how to do those things. If 6 months in, they're not selling their book, they don't want to mess with the ISBN, they just leave it, and then it defaults back to the museum.
Okay, but we need to be very, very careful about how this program is run and worded. We do absolutely not want to mimic a vanity press in any way, shape, or form. No. One burnt
Correct.
author will take the whole organization down. If one author feels that they have been taken advantage of by this program, then it'll ruin everything. So you have to be very careful. I just don't see this as, again, don't take advantage of people, but that's the problem with this is, yes, it could be passive income, but it's not going to be a huge income stream. And, because the chances that we're going to get suddenly a J.K. Rowling who dies and we happen to have rights to her books is like winning the Mega Millions that none of us just won. So, it's just, and again, I'm not even sure I can articulate what I'm thinking, but I would be very careful because I read a lot of beware author articles, from not only romance, but all genres. And there's always someone trying to do something to get money out of authors quickly and it eventually backfires, but all these authors get burnt in the process. And all it takes is a couple of them to start saying on Twitter, hey, this person did this to me, this organization did this, and everybody suddenly collapses and says, oh, wait, they did that to me too. And that's it. We absolutely do not want to be that person.
Right.
I mean,
No,
not
and I'm
only
not
not only
suggesting
because
that
it'll
in
ruin
any
the
way.
organization, but morally, we don't want to be that person. So, yes, the museum needs money, but I don't, I'm sorry. I don't think that this is the best way to go about it. Maybe as a like a backup for a very minimal amount of income, but I don't know that this is going to really bring in enough